Hello everyone, I'm your caster tonight, Renegade. Welcome one, welcome all, be you young, old, short or tall. In the top right corner, to start off this tournament, we have the Teal Protoss, Exiled. And in the bottom left, as the pink toss, it's gonna be H-Jax. Now, I'm gonna be covering Group A throughout Season 4 of the AlphaX Apprentice. Another excellent caster by the name of Apprentice is going to be covering Group B as we go through our weekly run of the tournament. There are 7 players in Group A. 6 of them will go head-to-head each week, with one of them getting a bye. When tallied together, your match wins and your map points are going to determine if you're eliminated or if you are seeded into Group S or Group A, where you will then compete for the prize pool. Speaking of that prize pool, exclamation Matcherino in the chat. Put in the code AXCOM106 to add a further 50 cents to help AlphaX out with these prize pools. It's going to be a PvP to start things off. Every match is going to be a best of 5. Exiled gets a Exiled gets a full scout of the base of H-Jax here. H-Jax proxies a pylon. So Exiled is going to be a little bit suspicious. Now, what you're looking for with the scout is that second pylon. So you're going to see H-Jax sees there's a second pylon in the main of Exiled. Exiled has seen no such thing in the base of H-Jax, which is why he's shift-clicking his probe around the map, and he's going to miss this pylon by a country mile, at least on his current pathing. Oh, with that pathing, he'd see it. Okay. It's gonna be a while, though. Looks like H-Jax going for the Nexus block as well. Nexus shield battery. Another shield battery going down for H-Jax as well. But it looks like our pink toss might... You know what? No. He's not going to move out. He's just going to sit at the top of the ramp and wait for you know what? Okay, he's found the pylon. So he's going to go take that down, it looks like. Is he, though? See, I keep trying to predict what's going to happen, and he keeps subverting my expectations, so... Okay, he is gonna move out, take down the pylon, or he rally at the pylon. Exiled is not going to move out, take down the pylon. He's going for full-on defense. H-Jax is scouting all over the place to see if Exiled has any shenanigans going on. Exiled shades forward. Okay. I know, this is the 5th time I've said it this game, but Exiled maybe finally gonna take... Nope, he's not gonna do it. He's not gonna pick the soft target. He's gonna dive on the probe line. Fail! Okay. Immortal Stalker at the front. Pop goes the shade. The Adepts enter the mineral line. 2 probes get gunned down, but the Adepts evaporate in the meantime. Forge is spinning, +1, almost done here for Exiled. Same thing happening, just a little bit later on the other side of the map for H-Jacks. A really passive game from both players so far. Exile's 2 Adepts are really the only action we've seen whatsoever. Protoss versus Protoss is one of those matchups that can just go so very differently, depending on who the players are. Like, you can have double proxy robo, you can have a proxy Stargate versus a proxy robo. You can have a max, well, okay, proxying a gateway versus another Protoss isn't necessarily a max pax, but you can proxy a gateway, hit your opponent super fast. It's like H-Jacks might go for a double immortal drop. It's a possibility. He shouldn't finish this Shade. Oh, is he gonna finish this Shade? Okay, he's gonna finish this Shade. Hopefully he gets around 6 probes. It's at 3. 4. It's gonna sit at 4. I don't think that's 2 value. Exile's gonna be able to replace those pretty quickly. H-Jack's going to be at a little bit of a probe advantage for a while, but of course he's oversaturated on the natural, so it's not really going to pay off until this third finishes. Once that third finishes, however, it finally happened. The pylon died. Okay. Exile drops a third. H-Jacks is just going to be so far ahead if Exiled doesn't do something about this. He really needs to do something about this. H-Jacks playing this out really intelligently. He's doing the double immortal drop. It's not causing damage, but he's keeping Exiled's army pinned down as he transfers probes to this third. The longer and longer this goes, the more secure he's going to feel as that economy kicks off, and the bell curve kind of reaches its apex, where the income is providing him with more army supply than his opponent, higher value army supply than his opponent. Upgrades currently in favor of Exiled, so he would have a little bit of an advantage had he moved out, but it was a narrow window and the clock is ticking. Exiled losing that engagement in his main as well, definitely not trading efficiently, with both those immortals still alive. Slow warps in at the pylon. H-Jacks skyrocketing in worker supply. Upgrades are about to be even. And that small lead that Exiled had from not dropping a third Nexus as early as his opponent has all but evaporated. H-Jacks moving out onto the map with a bunch of Disruptors, a bunch of Stalkers, an Observer in the air, and this is going to do terrible damage. Exiled is making his play as well. H-Jacks does have recall. It's got a Disruptor there for defense. Third of H-Jacks is going to go down before the third, or third of Exiled is going to go down before the third of H-Jacks. H-Jacks moves forward. Probes have begun to fall here. Exiled is walking home, taking the walk of shame. as opposed to the recall. And I think this is going to be all she wrote for Exile. Even if he somehow cleans up this army, which I don't think he's going to at all. Like, he's just taken too much worker damage at this point. H-Jax decides to recall. I don't know how I feel about that. He moved commanded for a little bit there. So he's going to bleed out all these stalkers. Even a High Templar. High Templar drop. He's like, hey guys, I helped. I shot my auto attack. Exiled going on the attack once again. But, I mean, look at all these disruptors. Exiled has a little bit more army supply. +3 on the way for H-Jax. Not so for Exiled. There's a chance here. But with that disruptor shot, that chance just got a lot smaller. In the meantime, H-Jax double Immortal dropping in the Main of Exile. Again, his army supply is significantly weaker in the defense here than Exiled, but these disruptors have so much value potential, and these shield batteries are helping to anchor the defense as well. Remember, in the meantime, drop going on in the main, but more hype disruptor hits going down for H-Jax. Immortal after Immortal is falling. These disruptors are going to be on cooldown for a little while, but H-Jax overwhelms the army of Exiled here. GG is called. H-Jax takes game number 1 of the tournament. In the bottom right-hand corner of Simulacrum, as the teal toss, he's Exiled. And in the top left, as the pink Protoss, it's H-Jax. We're not going to be calling out clan tags this tournament because this is an internal AlphaX tournament. I'm not going to say, like, over 100 times this season, and also from AlphaX, it's H-Jax. Oh my god. Please. Alpha Exiled is what I was, like, my brain was trying to say there, and I'm like, what? What brain? This is madness! Yeah, so this is a best of 5 series. Will Exiled switch it up? Because H-Jax seemed pretty dominant in his engagements, what few there were the last game, and his strategic decision-making in the long term. And, I mean, like, even if Exiled had traded very well there, and cleaned up the Immortal drop back home, but not broken H-Jax, H-Jax still had +3 on the way. He had, like, an ace in the hole, which Exiled was still going to have to surmount if he wanted to succeed, and he was just unable to. Exiled. It's a scout in the main of H-Jax. H-Jax gets a scout in the main of Exiled, and it's gonna be totally normal. It's totally normal for both players. We're not even seeing a proxy pylon this time around. Exiled? Okay, so I mean, I guess maybe we see a proxy pylon, but it's much later than the previous game. This is the 3rd pylon as opposed to the 2nd being proxied for Exiled, and it's going to be a proxy robo. Okay, I like where this is going. Proxy robo, very strong right now. Now, don't be too confused if next week I say if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, I say Proxy Robo not that strong, because there is a patch incoming, and it's gonna hit. I purposely stacked a couple of the weeks of this tournament. As this is being casted, the actual tournament is live in week 3, so we are going around week 4 to see. Okay, well this is pretty big. H-Jack's making a move to shut this down. He's not going to be successful, I don't think, in shutting this down before well, there's no Immortal being made yet. Exile doesn't have the gas. Okay, he will defend the proxy just fine. H-Jax has scouted this, but it's still going to be a very difficult hold. He's got to get up some shield batteries. He's got to get out more stoppers, rally a defense at the top of the ramp. I don't know that he wants to defend the low ground. But there's a patch that's going to be hitting, adjusting the power of the shield battery, specifically to hold proxy robos in PvP. I think it's going to have much more of an effect in Protoss vs. Zerg than it is in Protoss vs. Protoss, but that remains to be seen. So, this week being played on the quotation marks old patch, this build still, in theory, very, very, very strong, and I think you're about to see why in just a matter of seconds. Watch Exile just like move command his units up the ramp now and sit at the wall in the choke point, not fire shot, lose everything. Okay. Exile takes out the first pylon. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to provide high ground vision. This ramp, of course, does block that for the ground units, so very important to have this Hallucinated Phoenix here. One warp gate goes down. H-Jax temporarily sitting on one warp gate and a robo for production. He's getting out of sentry to get another warp gate out behind this. He needs to save it though. You can't really defend this off of one warp gate, especially when your opponent has a prism here. Prism taking... Okay. Next gateway is down. A beautiful force field here from H-Jax, but a beautiful pickup from Exiled. H-Jax throws down a Robotics Bay. This is a bold play when under siege like this. This is almost certainly going to be for Disruptors. That was not the cleanest force field here. So Exiled forced to use a little bit of extra energy. He's trying to figure out how he wants to engage this, but I think he's being a little bit too conservative, actually. Okay, maybe that was a little bit overeager. He did get the shield battery, and he was able to save some of the units that were cut off. H-Jax slowly losing ground, but now that Robotics Bay is here, and it is indeed going to be a disruptor. This is expensive. This is cutting into what H-Jax can field right now. Luckily for him, Exiled is being very conservative. In the meantime, throughout the mayhem, H-Jax has dropped a proxy pylon. He's gone for a couple Adept Warpins, but it's been totally blocked here by Exiled. Exiled has his own Adepts outside of his secure wall-in, and he's going to intercept the Adept of H-Jax. In the meantime, engagement shapes out up at the front. Exiled has his own Disruptor on the field now. H-Jax a little bit ahead in supply. This is a big play. Alright, the shot from H-Jax misses. The shot from Exiled misses by miles. Or kilometers from my EU friends. Ooh. A juicy shot from H-Jax. He tries to recall the units trapped outside the force field. He doesn't have a prism himself, but Fails. Oh my god, 3 adepts evaporated, deleted. H-Jax just pounds on the delete key. H-Jax mis-microing here a little bit. He's focused on these exchanges, gets one of the disruptors. Exiled gets one of the disruptors of H-Jax. H-Jax sends out his shot, gets one of the disruptors of Exiled. Counts even right now. Exiled a little bit ahead in army supply. H-Jax drops a proxy nexus. Or a hidden base, I guess, might be a better thing to call it. Stalemate outside of H-Jax's base continues, but I think H-Jax has the numbers to push this back now. I think Exiled thinks that as well. Exiled is a little bit up in army supply, but he has some of it back at home defending. He also has a second Nexus up, but he's not mining! He's not mining at the second Nexus! He didn't set the rally point! I think he's just making probes here and not rallying them to the minerals. Oh, this is huge! This adept shouldn't get too many probe kills. This guy stuck in behind the stalker. H-Jax using that as a distraction though. Takes out a sentry, takes out an immortal. Disruptor can be like in the hands of an unskilled player. So it's just like a derpy unit. Like it never kills anything. It just sits there. It rotates. It's like all I do is spin, 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 no matter what. But in the hands of a skilled player, it can just delete so much of the opponent's core units in the blink of an eye. Depths moving. Okay, Immortal's injured. Shots going back and forth. Big plays on both sides, but I think H-Jax is gonna get overrun. Disruptors are almost off cooldown. Adepts are attempting to shade on top of this. You might see the suicidal... Okay. He's not gonna do it. H-Jax got his hidden base up and running. He's sending in 2 more adepts. And he's actually going to connect with these probe kills. These guys are distracted. I think they were in the wrong hotkey group or something. Exiled could totally shade up this ramp and kill every probe here. Oh my god! Huge disruptor shot kills all of the adepts! Only 2 of them make it to the main. Exiled waited too long. He got taken out by disruptors. Exiled recalling more probes from his main. H-Jax, despite that huge disruptor hit, only up 6 army supply. However, he is now a dozen workers ahead of his opponent. Exiled is totally in the dark. He's got to be so confused. If he scouted this, H-Jax might just like keel over, but the longer this goes on, more and more H-Jax is going to be able to get out onto the field. And the worse and worse it's going to be for Exiled. Another 2 adepts move in. H-Jax picks off the Disruptor of Exiled before the shot can go off. GG is called. H-Jax takes a 2-0 lead. In the top right corner of Zen, as the teal Protoss is Exiled. In the bottom left, as the pink Protoss, he's H-Jax. H-Jax currently up 2-0 in the best of 5. Zen is the place to battle for these two Protosses. They're like, no Zergs today. Am I right, Brotoss? And he's like, yeah, Brotoss. No Zergs today. Let's enjoy this map. This has always made me feel like it's kind of gross, like how it's supposed to very... Oh, okay. Oh, no. Alright. Exiled's dropped a Forge. Okay. I'm here talking about doodads. My man Exiled. One for the Cannon Rush. Okay, the first cannon has been cancelled. Pylon goes down. Another pylon gonna fall. And this cannon rush is over. H-Jax getting a Zealot in on the remaining cannon. It's just pylons now. Exiled's probe under siege. And losing 300 minerals in pylons in the next couple seconds is going to be absolutely terrible. Now, H-Jax did pull way too many probes to chase down the cannon rushing probe of Exile, but I think overall, Exiled firmly behind as far as resources lost. And you might go, Renegade, of course, he's 774 resources lost. How could he not be behind? But remember, H-Jax also pulling probes off the line to deal with this. Even now, Exile drops a pylon in the wall, but I don't think this is going to be a continued cannon rush. Oh wait, you know what? Nope, he brought a second one along. He's going to continue the cannon rush. I don't think this was a wise decision, though. Pylon in the wall is gone. He's going to try to drop another cannon in the main. It does get denied. It's denied again. He's going to try a third time. GG is called. H-Jax takes the series 3-0. In the bottom left corner of Eternal Empire, as the purple Terran, he's Last Surprise. And in the top right corner, as the red Terran, it's Wooded Microb. This is week 1 of the tournament, so our players are going to be setting the start of their storylines in this epic 7-week Apprentice event. Unfortunately, that gives us a lack of things to comment on. Last Surprise had some powerful 2-base pushes in the previous season versus both Protoss and Terran. Wooded Microb, a strong, well-rounded Terran player. Both players opening up standard here for game number 1. Although, I would expect to see some proxies later in the series. I'm gonna call it. One proxy. At least one proxy this series. It's gonna happen. But I think this is just gonna be a more standard TVT as the two teammates heal each other out. Like Rob, hopping out of the main. Last Surprise doing much the same. It's the proxy check. Both players tap their Xel'Nagas. Both players are going for Hellions. It'd be either of them that makes the first move. It's gonna be Last Surprise. Link Rob. We'll see this way before it connects. He had a choice whether to engage or not. He chose to engage, but neither player losing a unit. Last Surprise choosing to back off as he knows reinforcements are just around the corner here for Wooden Microb. Last Surprise, getting out a Cyclone, getting out a Raven. Microb, going for a drop. It's an eclectic mix of units. It's not all the time that all the units are loaded up in the medevac. Sometimes the Reapers trail along on the ground, but it's going to be 3 Reapers, 2 Hellion drop in the main. Last Surprise is out of position to deal with this. And the first SCV has fallen. 2, 3... There was a little bit of tension there, as like 2 more Hellion shots, and a lot of these SCVs would have died, but Last Surprise has firmly held this. The Cyclone patrolling in the main now. Cyclone at the natural, so this is just never gonna break in. Last Surprise drops the 3rd CC. Microb kind of has his units a little bit everywhere. He's got a Banshee going over here into the natural. He's got some at the Xel'Naga. He's got a couple back home. So if Last Surprise were to push out, like, he could kind of catch these units off guard. Last Surprise sees the units moving toward the Xel'Naga, and he's going to go for a drop in the main. Now the Cyclone should get a connection right away with the medevac. There it is. Can't go in that way, Microb. Last Surprise is going bio, Microb. Also going bio. This +1 can be a little bit earlier than that of Last Surprise, with armor and weapons. So that's going to give him a little bit of a leap in the power curve. as we head toward the mid game, late mid game. Microb attempted to get some damage done here. He took out a couple Marines, but that's about it. Microb drops the 3rd CC from the heavens. It's going to start mining that out. Last Surprise moves out his own. It's going to reposition some of the tanks. Move out the bio column. Microb, I think, has a very solid defense. Last Surprise is pushing like he's going to attack. He does have a significant chunk of Raven energy. But, I don't know, man. 4 tanks, this many Marines, 5 tanks. Microb has some medevacs to spot for the tanks as well. Last Surprise is going to have one shot at this. Some of his army being tied down back at home by these Banshees. Wait! Microb moved out! And then he changed his mind! That's the worst thing! Oh no! It looked like for a second he was just going to YOLO and go for the base trade with Last Surprise. Last Surprise, though. Like, this is terrible for Wooded Microb. This is so bad. Microb gets his defense up. Once again. Banshees are going to deal a little bit of SCV damage, but they finally go down. Alas, at the cost of a mule. This Last Surprise is forced to drop a scan. Both these players be like, I see you. Ooh. A tank gets picked off right out of the factory. As dire as that looked for Wooded Microb, he's like, okay somehow. Upgrades have evened out. Last Surprise bleeds out another dozen workers to this drop. Okay, this is really significant damage here. Missile turret goes down, 21 SCVs lost so far. Liberator in the main dealing even more damage. Last Surprise stimming into the natural Wooded Microb, but Microb has enough to clean up. From the ashes, Wooded Microb has risen, and he comes out of this ahead 11 workers so far. This still isn't over. He's gonna get a medevac. He shouldn't get the CC. But he is going to get out with an entire medevac worth of units. 26 SCVs in all falling for last surprise between the Liberator and the Marines. Oh my god! Okay, that was to repair the Raven, not a Manor Mule. I was going to be like, surprise! No, Manor Mule, please! But I don't think that was a Manor Mule on further reflection. Okay, and just like that, Wooded Microb's army is gone. It gets Thanos. He's still ahead, a few supply, but what a play. There wasn't much to say there. Like, Last Surprise just hit the T button and stimmed to win, channeling his inner gamer Richie. He gets an early group of Marines as well. He's gonna have time to back off here and heal up as he retreats to the tank line, but that does mean Wooded Microb is gonna be able to defend this fourth long enough for it to become a planetary. Last Surprise going to reposition to this high ground. This is always an interesting engagement when one player tries to take the high ground. Microb weighing his chances of taking this down, and he's like, yeah, and then he's like, no. So, Last Surprise not able to take down the fortress, but he is able to siege the mineral line. Microb spawning with the medevac. He has some Marines loaded in here as well to drop on the tanks. Takes out one of the medevacs of Last Surprise. Last Surprise's siege is ended. He's going to land his own 4th CC. It's not going to be a planetary, not going to be an orbital, anything special yet. But supplies do not lie, and they have evened once again. Last Surprise able to hit some of this mineral line. It's gonna get a couple SCV kills. I don't know that that was really worth the scan, even. Microb had moved some Marines out onto the map, but hasn't done anything with them yet. He's gonna stem them back home. Last Surprise going for a 5th base. Microb thrusting a spear point toward the natural of Last Surprise. Last Surprise has plenty of time to react thanks to the radar towers, but he doesn't have too many tools to react with. This is a metric ton of Marines. Okay, alright. So Microb didn't commit there for reasons we will never know. He could have overwhelmed the defenses and gotten in on the production, but choosing to go back home and defend instead. He's gotten the Liberator out. It's gonna take care of the tanks. Marines didn't commit to killing the Liberator, as they wanted to engage this bio coming back home, but they will lose the fight anyway. Last Surprise takes a 5th. For the first time in a long time. He is going to swing ahead in economy as he gets rid of some of the oversaturation on his bases and moves these SCVs out to mine at that fresh 5th. He took the worst of these trades. Wooded Microb, I think, should have stemmed in there, taken down the tanks. There's only one Marine to defend them. I don't know if he fully, realized that, though. Surprise gonna get out with the last of his units. Both players on 3-3 bio upgrades, +2 vehicle weapons for Wooded Microb. Going to add a lot of potential to these tanks. Last Surprise kind of needs this base. He muled his main and muled his natural a lot more heavily than did Wooded Microb. He's been trading less efficiently all game. Last Surprise is coming in from behind. Microb also trying for a flank, but he loses most of the tanks right away. There's another stim. Last Surprise will hold on the left. Microb landing the Vikings, unable to get the tank snipe though. Liberator in the air, picking out the SCVs one by one as they try to repair the planetary. Marines sim in. They get the planetary down to half health, but they have to back off. Microb is going to have a tough time breaking this. But he did get 21 SCV kills, so worker count evened up. Microb building his own 5th command center, but he loses a lot of his army. Microb moving out 2 bases at once, building another one, goes for another push. He kind of catches Last Surprise out of position. Last Surprise attacking into Wooded Microb. A group of Hero Marines comes in from behind, tries to get the tanks. It's an utter failure, utter disaster. Microb up to 106 army supply to 43. Last Surprise is out of options here. As Microb goes for multiple thrusts against our Purple Terran. Last Surprise has gone into BC. Yamato Cannon not finished yet. He's going for the Marines as opposed to the medevacs. 1 BC in the red, and of course get repaired. The medevac goes down, 1 escapes, but Microb still dealing with these Marines. That is natural. You might as well blink over here. This is a lot of vulnerable supply depots. Last Surprise already capped it at 164. Missile turrets going down. He's... Okay, I don't think you need that upgrade, Last Surprise. I really don't. Not at this stage. I don't think that's what's keeping you. It's what's gonna make or break you. Last Surprise kind of baiting these Marines back, but he can't afford to lose. It's BC's. Okay, he blinks them home. Oh no, the tanks siege on the ramp. Had they sieged like up here on the high ground, they might have been a little bit more effective, but as it is, not effective enough. GG is called. Wooded Microb takes game number 1. Just so you guys know, the in the bottom left, as the Purple Terran, he's down but not out. It's Last Surprise. In the top right, it's the tenacious Red Terran, Wooded Microb. Very, very back and forth. 25-minute game number 1. both players went for their macro-based bio-tank play. It didn't quite pan out. For last surprise, I think the battle cruiser play was a bit ambitious, especially in TVT where you have so many tools to deal with those battle cruisers. You have Vikings, you have Marines. Microb already had Vikings on the field. He already obviously had Marines on the field, and he was just able to respond to that very quickly, very effectively. A couple botched tank sieges for last surprise as well, where he just kind of sieged under Marine fire, and it didn't quite work the way he would have hoped. Chad Supply Depot, Virgin Scouting SCV. That's it. There wasn't actually like verbs there. It was just nouns. Virgin Scouting SCV, Chad Supply Depot. That's all you gotta know. Watch, I can reduce all casting down to memes. Reaper Printer Go. Brr. Monka Factory. Okay, just like we saw in Eternal Empire, both players going for very similar builds here. Reaper Hellion. It does look like Last Surprise wants to be our first aggressor, yet again. Wooded Microb prepared for him on the ramp. Of course, Wooded Microb does have Defender's Advantage, so he has another Hellion. It's going to pop momentarily. There it is, another Reaper, and those are going to be at the front. And this is going to swing things into Wooded Microb's favor. Last Surprise, instead of diving on the SCV, just checks to see where Microb's army is, and that's not going to work out. Microb, definitely winning these trades. Last Surprise hides as many SCVs as he can in the CC. Gonna pop out. These early game TVT engagements all depend pretty much on the angles of the Hellion shots and the placement of your Reaper grenades, as well as your opponent's reaction to the above. Microb just got the better Hellion shots, just got the better Reaper grenades. So he's going to have a little advantage going into the next engagement. It's going to be 2 Marines and a Cyclone versus the remnants of this attack force in the Cyclone. Okay. Last Surprise should be able to clean this up. In fact, he will. But Microb has his next wave of aggression on the way. 4 SCVs already falling. And Microb has just set the pace of the game entirely so far. From first contact with the enemy, Microb has had map control. He's been constantly keeping Last Surprise on his toes. And we're going to see that continue as 2 Marines rally forward. Now, why 2 Marines? That's unclear to me. I would think these are scouting Marines just to see if he moves out. Okay, it might have been a misrally. Just gonna bring those boys home. Bring our troops home! Okay. Does. He just box clicks them. It's that easy. Go to war. Everyone's tired after 6 years. All the president has to do is this. Do this, and you right click. Another 3 SCVs get picked off. Microb loses the Liberator. Third CC, being built by Last Surprise. Microb has a tiny worker lead, but you can see how much that's paying off. It's up 8 army supply. Yeah, okay, a little bit indecisive about landing that planetary. But, you know, he's gotten the third base out. And those slight edges can have huge impacts later on in the game. Both players almost done with Stim. Microb gonna have a way earlier +1. Microb really likes building his factories outside of his base. You'll notice Last Surprise keeping all his production in the main, at least for now. Microb always, every game I've ever casted of him against any race, he's like spreading it out all over the place. He's like building here, he's building here, he's building here. But like throw stuff back here. Yeah, look, there's the engineering bay back there. There's another engineering bay. Like they're not together at all. There's like, it's like, what are you doing, Microb? And obviously, you know, part of the advantage of that is if you get dropped, all your tech is not in the same place, right? If someone tries to doom drop you and you're still producing tanks down here, it can be advantageous, but at the same, you know, by the same logic, like it's also more vulnerable. So this frontal factory is not as protected as it would be were it in the main base. Okay, stem in from Last Surprise, disable on the forward tank. This next volley should clear it up. Last Surprise gaining good ground, but Microb stimming in on the other side is about to get a truckload of SCV kills. Last Surprise being a little bit passive. Okay, he's going to move the tanks forward. More disables on the tank line of Microb, but he's just taken so long to push in. 7 SCVs down, the rest of these guys not mining, and it looks like the orbital got picked off. In fact, it did. So, Microb, this whole time, still mining at his third. Still with tanks here to limit the area Last Surprise can move in. These Ravens are going to be critical for Last Surprise to continue doing any form of damage. Microb playing conservative as well. He's going to be happy. He's like, look, man, you don't have a third anymore. Got a bunch of your workers. I'm going to go home. I'm going to stim in behind you. Here we go. This is going to be a two-pronged attack from Wooded Microb. But reinforcements are coming in from Last Surprise as well. He doesn't move in! These reinforcements could have stopped this. But Microb cleans up, and this orbital should be safe. Microb's fourth, finished up. Liberator tank there to defend. Last Surprise is going for another push, but he does not have the tools he needs to do this job. He's gonna get some disables down. Or wait, no. Oh no, he was the Ravens. GG is called. Wooded Microb goes up. On the right side of the Golden Wall, as the Purple Terran, is Last Surprise. And on the left, as the Red Terran, it's Wooded Microb. Is that a Pepe flag? Is that a... That's terrifying. It's the stuff of nightmares. Okay. Microb. Single game away from winning his week 1 match and getting a good start to the season. Last Surprise going to have to pull off the next 3 wins in a row to take the victory. I have not casted very many games of TVT on Golden Wall, and that is because no one plays on it, man. I'm gonna be real. No one plays this map, and I have statistics to back that up. Between my ladder games, and by the way, I have no maps vetoed, not a single one, and all of the casts I've done of pro games since the season, and amateur games since the season began, I have a grand total of 70 Golden Wall games between all races, all matchups. And at least 8 of those are Bly. At least 8 of those are Bly. I think another 2 are Nina versus Jennison, like specifically 2 games of Nina versus Jennison, so that takes us to 10. And then throw in another 30 for my ladder games. And you can see, like, this is not a lot. For comparison, I have like 300 games on Simulacrum. So... why am I talking about this? What relevance does this have? Well, when you have a map that isn't played very much, such as Golden Wall, it affects strategy. It affects the meta on the map. Now, let's say Simulacrum weren't getting a lot of play, or Everdream. They're more standard maps, so you can use more standard strategies. But Golden Wall has an entire, a little over a third of the map totally walled off at the start. You can use airplay by going behind. You can take the back base as your natural or your third, more likely your third, just because you don't want to sacrifice mining time mining at this wall long distance at the start of the game. So there's a lot of unique traits here, and when you have not a lot of games played on it, it can kind of stagnate, right? You don't have that, like, education loop of watching other Terrans play TVT on Golden Wall. So, very interested to see how these 2 players react to this set of facts in this game. Devin saying, yeah, I got this shit vetoed. Yeah, yeah. I have a very particular build I use when I roll this map. One build, period, the end, versus Terran. It's gonna be Cyclone Raven. I think last surprise. Might be going for a timing push here. Wooden Microb going for the Banshee harassment. He is investing in Cloak, so I would expect there to be a second Banshee as well. Yeah, he's gonna start that up. Last surprise going for third base. The Banshee ready to connect. Cloak Knight not quite finished. It's a couple seconds. 3, 2, 1, 0. Zero. Cloak on the Banshee. And this has done far more damage than it had any right to. 3, 4, 5 SCVs and a couple Marines go down to the Banshee. That said, the Banshee was lost. So, I mean, like, you get that damage done, and you get the Banshee out alive, you're a very happy camper. You get that damage done, you lose the Banshee, a little bit less happy, but I still think you come out slightly ahead. Microb with a Hellion Reaper push isn't going to get much done against these tanks. Oh wait! Oh my god, it's a trap! You've done this to yourself, last surprise! No! Okay, so actually a high IQ trap from Wooden Microb. I don't know if that was intentional or not. It might have been. But, like, that was very fortuitous either way. Last surprise moved into the net and lost a couple units. He's still gonna lose units. Okay, Wooden Microb chooses to back out. He's gonna save a Hellion, gonna save a Reaper. Here we go. Microb pulling the boys to the gold base. I subverted your expectations. I'm like the last Jedi, man. I'm out here memeing. I'm out here dreaming. He is going to go for a bio tank push, though. He doesn't have enough here, actually. Okay, well, if you unsiege the tanks and you move to the low grounds, and then you try to push into this, he absolutely has enough. Oh, man. Last surprise has taken the back third. Microb, dropping on the other side of the mineral line, is onto this though. He didn't see the back third, but he scouted it being built in the main and the location it was being built in the main, and I think that was enough info for him to put 2 and 2 together. So now this is just a dead orbital. A lot of SCVs dying, 7, 8. It's going to be a dozen SCV deaths all told. Last surprise, rushing to respond here. But Microb takes the engagement too well. GG is called. And with that, Wooded Microb takes the series 3-0.